I started cooking early that morning. Even by sunset, the house still carried the scent of cinnamon and simmering stock. I'd roasted the turkey slow, just like Mom used to, made the stuffing from scratch, baked her favorite apple pie with the braided crust she always loved. Rachel, my younger sister, offered to help, but mostly hovered by the sink, drying the same glass over and over. I could tell she was nervous. She always goes quiet right before things fall apart. Mom, Darlene Blake, 63, silver curls always set tight, sat glued to the TV until dinner. When she finally joined us, wine glass in hand, she didn't say a word about the food, not even a "looks nice, Susan." Still, I tried. I set the table with the old snowflake plates, poured drinks, and let myself believe, for the first time in years, that maybe we'd have a quiet evening, that maybe she'd notice the effort. We sat down. Rachel filled her plate. I passed the rolls. For a little while, the soft clink of forks and the jazz humming in the background made it feel like home again. Then Mom spoke, casually, like it was nothing. "Susan, I think it's time you moved out." I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. I looked at Rachel. Her eyes went wide. "I pay the rent," I said calmly. "I pay the bills, the groceries. You haven't worked in 5 years." Mom didn't even look up, just sipped her wine. "I just need my space back," she said. As if I'd been squatting in the home I'd been holding up with both hands. Nobody said a word, not even Rachel. I don't remember the rest of the meal, just the flicker of candlelight against her glass and the way the room suddenly felt smaller. I'd moved back in when she lost her job at the clinic. She said it would only be for a little while. Back then, I had my own place, a small, messy apartment with stubborn carpet, but it was mine. Still, I packed up and came home, thinking I'd be there 6 months, tops. That was nearly 5 years ago. At first, I didn't mind. I worked remotely, had a solid job in IT, good benefits. I paid the mortgage, then the bills, then everything else. We never talked about it, it just happened. I covered her meds, paid for Netflix, bought a new router when she complained the Wi-Fi was slow. I told myself this is what daughters do. But the cracks started showing. The first time she snapped, it was over one bowl left in the sink. Then came the jabs. "Some people don't understand how to respect shared space," she muttered, then silence for days. Or she'd complain about my voice carrying during a late call, or if the garbage wasn't out. Somehow, it always circled back to me. I kept brushing it off. "She's just going through something," I told myself. She raised me, after all, gave me so much when I was small: homemade lunches, rides to piano, long talks on the porch when my heart first broke. That version of her felt like someone I still owed. So I kept quiet, kept paying, let her tell the family I was just staying while job hunting, even though I never stopped working. I let her live in her version of the story. But over time, it wore me down. I started feeling like a guest in the house I was financing, like I needed permission to cook in the kitchen, like my presence was something she merely tolerated. And still, I stayed. Because a part of me kept hoping, if I just hung on a little longer, she'd finally see me. I barely slept that night, sat on the edge of my bed in the same sweater I wore to dinner, staring at the ceiling. The house creaked around me, pipes, floorboards, but it felt colder than usual, empty. She didn't check on me, didn't knock, just closed her door and went to sleep with her wine. So I packed. Not in anger, not even sadness, just a quiet sort of finality. A small suitcase, my laptop, clothes, toothbrush, charger. I stood there for a long time before turning out the light. I hadn't planned it, hadn't called anyone. I just knew I couldn't keep waking up in that house pretending we were still a family. At dawn, I waited until I heard her snoring, then I opened the door carefully, avoiding the creak. No note, no goodbye. Just one last look at the untouched pie on the table. I closed the door gently behind me. Outside, the sky was gray. The cold bit into my skin as I stepped off the porch, suitcase in hand, wet leaves crunching underfoot. I told myself she might call, might text, ask where I was, ask if I was okay, but with every step down the street, that hope shrank. When I knocked on Mason's door, he didn't ask why I was there, just stepped aside and said, "Blankets are in the hall closet, bathroom's still broken, just jiggle the handle." We hadn't seen each other in months. We used to work in the same office, different teams, but stayed in touch. Mason always knew how to make silence feel safe. His apartment was small, odd mugs, dented fridge, carpet that smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. But it was warm and calm. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. That night, I lay curled on Mason's couch, wrapped in a worn comforter, listening to the steady hum of the radiator. No footsteps overhead, no strained silence pressing in from the hallway. I cried for a few minutes, not because I missed her, I wasn't sure I did, but because my body didn't know what to do with the quiet. The next morning, Mason handed me a chipped mug of black coffee and a set of spare keys. "Stay as long as you need," he said. By day 3, I found a small studio on the edge of town. It wasn't much, the building creaked, the paint peeled, but the windows opened and the floors were clean. No one cared if I played music after 10. I bought a used couch, a folding table, a discounted coffee maker, and for the first time in years, I made dinner just for me. I didn't apologize for the smell of garlic. I didn't eat with one ear tuned for tension. The silence felt strange at first, like something fragile that would break if I moved too fast. I kept expecting a voice to cut through it, asking why I dared to feel free, but no one came, and slowly, I began to like the stillness. It was a Thursday night when Rachel texted, "You won't believe what Mom's been saying." I was folding laundry on the floor, sorting socks into piles, the shirt I slept in still warm from the dryer. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, then I called. She picked up immediately, like she'd been waiting. Her voice was low, hesitant. "She's telling people you screamed at her during dinner, that you cursed, that you stormed out and left her alone on Christmas, that you've always been selfish, that you used her." I didn't speak. "Aunt Marilyn's bringing over food this week," said she can't imagine how hard this must be for Mom. My stomach turned, not from surprise, but from how easily the lie had taken root. I hadn't screamed. I hadn't even raised my voice. I packed in silence and left while she slept. That was the truth. But truth doesn't spread the way pity does. By Saturday, Uncle Tom had unfollowed me. I noticed I was gone from the family group chat. No message, no warning, just erased. I kept replaying that dinner, her flat voice, her eyes never meeting mine, and now somehow, I was the villain in a version of the story I hadn't even heard. I thought about calling my aunts, writing a message, laying it all out, but every draft felt like a plea, like I was trying to prove I was good. And then, something shifted. I didn't want to be pitied. I didn't want to be forgiven. I just wanted the truth to live somewhere outside of me. So I opened my notes app and started writing. It took 3 days. I rewrote it more times than I can count. I wasn't trying to make her look bad. I wasn't trying to sound brave. I just wanted to tell the story, plain, honest, quiet. For 5 years, I paid the rent, the bills, the groceries. I supported my mom so she could stay in her home. I never asked for anything, not rent, not recognition. On Christmas night, after I cooked and set the table, she told me to move out. I didn't scream, I didn't slam doors. I left quietly the next morning. I'm only sharing this now because I've heard the version going around, and it's not true. I'm not asking anyone to pick sides. I just needed the truth to exist somewhere. That was it. No hashtags, no photos, no names. I hit post, set my phone face down, and did the dishes. I didn't check it again for hours, not because I wasn't curious. I was afraid. Afraid no one would believe me. Afraid they would, and wouldn't care. That night, I lay on the couch again, staring up at the ceiling, wondering if I should have just kept quiet. Maybe silence was safer. Then, just past midnight, my phone started lighting up. Missed calls, messages, comments, names I hadn't seen in years. I didn't open them, not yet. I just watched the screen pulse on and off. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. The first message I opened was from Aunt Lisa, the one who never forgot birthdays, who never joined the drama. "I just read your post. I'm stunned. I'm so sorry I believed the worst." She didn't try to soften it. Didn't blame confusion. Didn't say we didn't know. Just the truth. Your mom's always had a way of bending the story when it doesn't go her way. I guess none of us ever wanted to say it out loud. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to name it, to stop pretending it was all a misunderstanding. Aunt Lisa ended her message with, "If you ever need a place for the holidays, my door's open." After that, the silence started to shift. Cousin Caleb messaged me the next day. "We always knew something was off in the way she talked to you." He didn't elaborate. He didn't have to. Some relatives never replied directly, but they refollowed me. A few added quiet heart reacts to the post, small gestures, but enough to feel like proof that people had noticed, that they just hadn't known what to say. It didn't undo the years, it didn't fix the hurt. But it made me feel less alone in the remembering. I wasn't the only one who saw the cracks. I was just the first to speak. That morning, I sat cross-legged on the floor of my apartment, drinking coffee from a mismatched mug. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt steadier, like the ground beneath me had finally stopped shifting. 4 days later, Rachel texted, "Can we meet somewhere?" We hadn't truly spoken since I left, just the occasional reaction. A short message when I posted about my new place. Nothing real. We met at a quiet little cafe downtown, foggy windows, too many hanging plants. She was already there when I arrived, hands wrapped around a chipped mug. "Hey," she said, like we'd only missed a week. I sat down. The silence between us lingered, not heavy, just unfamiliar. She looked tired, worn down in a way I recognized. Then she started talking. Things had gotten worse at the house. With me gone, Mom couldn't keep up with the bills. The power was cut for a full day before she scraped together enough to turn it back on. Grandma had refused to help, said she was done enabling. Rachel said Mom had become more erratic, snapping, blaming, unraveling. Then she looked down at her hands. "I used to think you were overreacting," she said, "that you were just sensitive or tired, but now?" She shook her head. "You did the right thing by leaving." A pause. "You should have left sooner." I didn't respond right away. There was a lump in my throat I hadn't expected. Hearing those words, from the one other person who truly understood what that house felt like, was like having someone unlock a door I didn't realize I'd still been pushing against. She said she wanted to leave too, when she could afford to. I told her I couldn't offer money, but when she was ready, really ready, I'd be there. I wouldn't let her fall, not like I did. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, she showed up. Not Rachel, Mom. I was in sweatpants, folding laundry, when I heard the knock. I opened the door halfway. There she was, Darlene, my mother. Pie in hand, store-bought, the label curling at the edges. She smiled, tight and unfamiliar. "Thought I'd stop by," she said. "Maybe we could have dinner, talk." I didn't move. "Things haven't been the same," she added. "I miss you." I leaned against the frame, arms crossed, the cold hallway air creeping in. "Are you here to apologize?" I asked. She blinked. "I don't think I need to," she said. "I think we both made mistakes." There it was, her old, practiced balance beam. If we're both at fault, then no one has to take responsibility. I looked at the pie, her fingers tightening around the plastic. "I wish you well," I said. Then I stepped outside, pulled the door gently behind me, and left her standing there. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I didn't take the pie. I didn't need to. The moment had already passed. It's been a few months now. The apartment still smells like new paint and budget candles, but it's becoming mine. I bought a gold-shaded lamp, a rug that clashes with the couch but makes the room feel warmer. I hung a small print above the sink, 3 pairs on a table. It makes me smile every time I see it. The quiet here is different. It doesn't punish, it settles. I play music out loud. I talk on the phone without whispering. I sleep through the night. Rachel comes by sometimes. We sit by the window, drink coffee, trade updates. She's saving, browsing listings. She says when I move out, now, not if. I don't ask about the house. She doesn't bring it up. That's okay. The post I wrote is still up. I never deleted it. Not to shame anyone, not to prove anything, just to make room for the truth. If she sees it as betrayal, that's her choice. But the real betrayal was quieter. It happened in sighs and silence. Between sips of wine and slices of pie. I don't miss the house. I miss the version of it I used to believe in. But I've stopped waiting for it to become that. Now, I water my plants. I answer messages when I feel like it. I live without holding my breath. And when I think back to that knock at the door, I don't feel anger. I just remember how the doorknob felt in my hand. Not cold, not rushed. Just final. You don't have to tell the whole story. Just enough to leave a mark. Just enough to say, I was here. If you ever walked away from a place called home, and no one asked why, this is your sign that you weren't wrong to leave. You were just the first to say it out loud.